Hello, Capricorn. Welcome to Mind, Body, and Heart Tarot Therapy. I'm here to do the reading for the month of August for Capricorn Sun, Moon, and Rising signs. This is a general reading. If it resonates, it resonates. And if it doesn't, then it's just not your reading. Don't try to fit it in. Use your own intuition to see which messages apply to you and your situation. So I pre-shuffled your cards. As I was meditating on your energy, I felt my third chakra opening up, which is the Manipura, the solar plexus, which has to do a lot with our earthly mind, the ego, perception of the self, understanding of power, personality, and some sort of creativity. Well, there's more to it, but this is what comes to mind right now. So let's see what this reading is all about. I also felt something at the throat chakra, but I think that was very, very clear. Something going on at the ego level, at the mental plane, actually. Something going on in the mental plane. Maybe some sort of... It felt like an opening, so maybe it's an understanding of some sort. Okay, so your current energy is the Magician. Beautiful. What's in your challenge position? Just realize that for the Sagittarius, I did this same spread, but I forgot to put... not I forgot, because there's no such thing as forgetting in this sort of... but the spread finished at 3, not at 4. And I only this month I started doing more structured reading. Usually I'm not reading them as assigned positions for various reasons. Anyhow, I find it very interesting that whole outcome card did not appear at all, and it just went straight back to the what I usually read as underlying energy. Well, let's see what's happening this time. So what's in the challenge position for Capricorn for the month of August? So it's Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising signs. You know that already. Queen of Wands is your challenge position. Well, all right. Okay, what's your advice? 10 of Cups. All right, and what's the outcome? I hate to call this card, this position, outcome. It's more about like what's the energy that's coming into the future. It's not the outcome of any situation. It's these readings are really just like a map, you know. And 6 of Cups as your underlying energy. So this is just a map. This is sort of like to see what is the energies that you're working with right now, and in the month of August. It's actually applying a lot to when you're actually listening to this reading and the period of time. Sometimes it can apply for a few months, actually. I've had people checking the readings and saying like, oh, this wasn't just for the month of July, for example. This was the dynamics of my whole last year. So apply it. It applies as it applies. You will know, that's for sure. And this is not an outcome. This is more of a future energy. Okay, I'll just put it like that for now. Okay, so the 6 of Cups is your underlying energy. Beautiful. I'm going to pull out the clarifiers for all this. So you have the 7 of Swords for the Magician. Well, all right. But we have the Queen of Wands as your challenge. Why is the Queen of Wands your challenge, dear? What's this about? Ha. All right. See, this is the 7 and 8 of Swords. This is what I was feeling with the whole ego part and the mind plane opening up. See, it's a growth, actually, the 7 and the 8. Okay, sorry. Why is the 10 of Cups as your advice? What is the Ten of Cups here? What is your advice? Ha! Got 2 tens as your advice. Nice, they're beautiful. Right. And as future energy, we have the 3 of Cups with the 5 of Wands. 7 of Cups with, this is a growth again, 6 to 7. So you know that in tarot, both the major arcana and the lower arcana are structured as a journey. It's a journey of the hero, and you are the hero in this case, through different stages. And the magician, it's the growth of your soul, especially on major arcana. And on minor arcana is kind of more of a, like, major arcana is a lot more about the life events, like big things having to do with your life journey and your soul's journey. And the minor arcana is more having to do with your daily life and energies that is like the mundane energies that you have to deal with it on a daily basis, right? So yeah, let's see what's going on in here. This is quite interesting energy. So you have the 6 of Cups with the 7 of Cups as your underlying energy. So it's having to do with the dreams of your past. Things that you've been dreaming when you were younger, when you were more in touch with, when you had a more of this child mind, let's put it this way. This is a card of innocence and returning to innocence and getting back the wisdom of that innocence. So maybe try to figure out, this is your underlying energy, this is kind of what you're working with. You're probably figuring out what is it that you want to do. What is it that, how do you want to live your life? What is your life path and journey so far? Where do you want to go? Maybe you've been like, living in certain ways and you're not really sure if that's brings you joy and happiness. You've been feeling so many different things that aren't necessarily what you want, or maybe you got what you want and you don't know where to move next. And at this point you're looking back at your what was your childhood dream? What did you want to become when you grew up? But it's very interesting because, when we are kids and people ask us what we want to become when we grow up, it's most of the time we learn response. More of like, okay, what do we see around us? What are the role models around us? What is the TV influencing me, or the books, or the school, or my parents, or whatever role models I have around me? But it also gives us, and that's information, by the way. Look at that as information to understand what is your baggage and conditioning. And by the way, these are all cups, so it is a lot having to do with emotions, which are also information. Try to connect to what were you feeling at the time. How were you feeling when you were creating these dreams for yourself? Are those dreams still relevant? This is what the 7 of Cups actually is all about, is trying to realize which dreams still serve you and which are not, which are coming from conditioning and which are coming from your heart's desires. And I think that that's pretty much where you're at right now. Not right now, this is what we're working with as an underlying energy, is the undercurrent, what's kind of driving this whole thing. Is figuring out what dream serves you, what dreams don't. And you can look back at a time of innocence and see what were you dreaming as a child, and which ones of them were learned behaviors and ideas and dreams, or which one of them were coming really from, oh, I feel like really attracted to this. For example, when I was a kid, I loved animals, so I wanted to be a vet. I had no clue what that means. I had no clue that means that you can open them up and work into their insides and turn them upside down and things like that. In my mind, it was just that innocence of like, oh, I want to be able to spend more time with animals and help them, It's not important that I did not become a vet. What is important is to reconnect to that whole feeling of love for animals and love for this animal realm and the world, the nature. It's just an example. All right, and your current energy is the magician with the seven of swords. And the magician, yeah, it's all about like it's the first stop on the journey. It's when you first wake up and you realize like it's a blank slate in front of you. I can do with this whatever I want, or whatever I can, or whatever it's a new beginning. And you have all the suits in front of you on the table. You've got this whole it's more about like your soul incarnating into this life and understanding what it has to do, what's the path ahead. Also start making that path ahead, creating it for yourself. And here you have the Seven of Swords, which is kind of like, it's the mind growing at the higher levels. If you take the lower arcana, right, like it's and the suit of the swords, it has to do with the mind energy. What's happening is the mind's journey. And you see that as we grow higher on our mind's plane, the cards become more and more restrictive and more complicated. And that's just because like the mind has troubles understanding such high concepts. It's not up to the mind to understand exactly what is the magician about to do here. That's magic. We can't understand magic with our rational minds. We need to tune into our bodies, into our intuition, into our soul wisdom. And the mind here is going to like try to rationalize everything, trying to compartmentalize everything in dualities. The mind thinks in dualities. And the one is like there is no duality yet. This is before duality. Before we understand the duality, this has to do with like really starting a new journey from scratch. Is the first step, the waking up. So you're probably really rationalizing right now. What is it that you have to do? Where to go? What are you going to manifest? Your mind is not your friend in this part of the journey. Your mind is going to try to run its own programs. That's what it knows how to do, is running in programs. This is the no in today's society, on what makes us human, say our mind, our intellect, our rationale, whatever. We put too much emphasis on the mind and we give the mind too much power. It is normal that the mind will go through these stages, and it's fine. The problem is that we believe it. The problem is that that's where we get stuck. See, with the Eight of Swords here, she's stuck. And this is your challenge right now. Understanding that you have this power of the Queen of Wands, understanding that you are as much of a spiritual person and you have all the knowledge and wisdom within yourself, but you can't see it right now because of your mind trying to always like rationalize, categorize, understand everything. The mind is just not designed for this. The mind can support your journey. The mind can be there as it's running its programs as defenses, and the brain, the role of the brain is to keep you alive. All this, the body and everything that we go through, everything is designed to keep you alive. And if we function from survival mode, then we're just going to sabotage ourselves sometimes because we see danger where it isn't. This lady here, So the brain is designed literally to look for danger. That's it. That's the main task, in order to make sure it's a problem solving machine. Where is the problem? There's the problem. Solving. But sometimes trying to solve the problem creates a bigger problem, you know. It's like quicksand. The more you struggle, the more the deeper you go and faster. And this lady here, she's blindfolded, and but she's not in any real danger. There's nobody holding her here. She's got these ties, but they're loose. She's blindfolded. She doesn't see all these swords here that she could actually take one. See, one stands apart, and just keep this one and cut herself free, but she can't see it. She can't see it because she's on the mind trip. And the mind trip is like, why is this happening? Why is this happening like this? What does that mean? Wait, but is this my intuition or is this my ego? Which one is what? Blah, blah, blah. Putting it together, categories. That's an important work, but don't let it drive the ship. Observe it, keep it on the background, but don't let it drive the ship. The mind makes a great servant, but a really poor master. 2 tens as your advice here. The 10 of cups with the 10 of Pentacles, and this makes sense, especially like the 10 of Pentacles are related a lot with your past, like, you know, looking at what is it that what have you learned from your lineage, from your tradition, from your grandparents and grandparents, family tradition. What is it that you've been carrying as your I don't know, in terms of belief systems, in terms of genes, in terms of look at a little bit of the history of your family, your family tree, and see a little bit like the conditioning that they had to go through. What kind of life did they lead? What are the wisdom that they've applied? And look at what kind of life you're wanting to live, and see how much of it is coming from your past conditioning. See what you're carrying also in terms of so as I said, like belief systems, wisdom, but also maybe negative conditioning, like, okay, gene wise, what is it that all my family's been fat, or all my family's been super skinny, or all my family's been, I don't know, in certain ways. What is it that you know, in order to adapt for survival, sometimes we develop certain hormones, and then changes happen at the cellular level. If a mother has been incredibly stressed and had gone through trauma through her pregnancy, she transfers that stress and trauma to the child in many different ways. It's not just through the education that it gives it, it's also through the whole it goes at cellular level. We register the danger, and we register ways to cope with that danger through our being on all planes, you know. And sorry, there is a word that I keep looking for and it's just not coming to me. It's not heritage, it's more, but you can think of that as well. It like, well, this is a long conversation. You can look out more about how this happens, how we're how are we inheriting the conditioning of our forefathers, foremothers, whatever, at a genetic level, predispositions to this and that. But the point is that, as your advice, yeah, it's important to look at what is it that you've been inheriting and what is it that you want to leave behind. And this is like, what is it that you consider happiness? And it has to do a lot with the dreams that you've created for yourself, and what dreams still serve you and what dreams don't. just take stock of that, look at it, and you can find a lot of inspiration in this. It's not about dismissing, it's not about moving away from it. It's really just looking at it and tuning in into that and understanding, really understanding what's coming from where, but not at a mind level. Like the mind, this understanding of the mind can just be like, well, actually it can happen and it needs to happen. There is a growth, and like any other student needs to go from 1 to 10 in order to end the cycle, and it's fine that it does that. That's how the mind grows, in order to accommodate more and more deeper concepts and this to support on your path. Only that it doesn't necessarily feel all that good, because it's always going to put in resistance. Anyway, the point is to, you can look with your mind, but look with your heart, look with your emotions, look with what is it that you have on the physical plane that you understand, because you can see it. Look at, I don't know, what's been manifesting really from your family side, from your past. Look at the abundance. Look at the what made people happy. What does happiness mean in your where you're coming from? And I keep putting it at where you're coming from, because we are still talking about dreams of the past here. This is not necessarily read about the past, but I feel like this has this, but these two together in this context are definitely about the past. Look about the past. Look at your past history, your past family history, and it's sort of like that, and see what you need to see. You'll know. And as a future energy, there's the Five of Wands with the Three of Cups. And the Five of Wands has to do with, like, it's really more about healthy competition. Yes, it's a little bit of a challenging energy, but it's like that sort of like, show us what you're made of. It's like when you participate in games and sports competition and I don't know, Olympic games and things like this. And you can do this with your friends, with your mates, with your. It's more like, well, I think like once you figure these things out, once you're learning what you're learning, you sort of want to come out there and show the people that you care about what you're really made of. And this is very healthy. It's not really conflict. Yeah, maybe we can be a little bit cheeky, or I don't know, can start like feeling like poking people, challenging them a little bit to go maybe deeper, to share their emotions. And this is a 3. This has to do with the mind as well, but it's over the emotional level, right? Because the cups is all about emotions. So maybe you're actually challenging or being challenged by your friends to share more about how you think about emotions. How do you think about your emotional baggage and your past and your present and your future, and all these lessons that you're learning at the emotional plane, right? What is that you're learning about your dreams, about your emotions, about your understanding of the mind, and of the how are you interpreting your emotions? How are you interpreting emotions in general? What does happiness mean, and so on and so forth. So I think it's a good idea to share what's on your mind before this, your process with the people that you care about, your soul family, and celebrate your journey. Celebrate this whole you waking up and taking stock and understanding and going through your journey. Well, this is all Capricorn. I hope this makes sense to you. If it does, and if you resonate, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you here soon. Have a great August.